What's going on, journalists, elite team? So what I'm going to show you right now is what bands you can use to perform these exercises. So you could get these from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to know exactly which bands I use. So that's really all you'll need, and everything I show you, you will be able to follow along with. You're going to need bands for this 100%. If you don't have bands, obviously, you won't be able to follow along with this specific exercise.
3, 2, 1, go.
So first, what you're going to see here, there's various levels of resistance that you can use. Of course, if you're dealing with a pretty severe injury, you wouldn't want to, as far as tendonitis, you wouldn't want to go with as heavy as possible. No, you want to go with the lightweight that you can control and just get familiar with the movement. So the first one I'm showing you here is traps. So I'll do the science about this in a future video, as far as like why are you doing traps and it's the elbow that hurts. Just because it is the elbow, there's a lot of underlying things that can be the result of that: tightening of the muscles of the forearm, weak muscles in surrounding muscle groups, and as a result, that leads to that compensation in muscles that they're trying to uptake where other muscles can't do their job, and that's where you get pain. So that's not in every case, but more often than not that is. So this is the shoulder press. I'm not going to do a voiceover for the complete video. All you got to do is just really follow exactly what you see. But another thing to keep in mind is eccentric. The eccentric phase of the exercise, that's what you want to pay attention to the most. Take your time with the eccentric phase, and even as you see concentric when I'm shooting up, don't go so fast, especially if, like I said, you're dealing with a lot of pain and it's not at the point where your injury is fully recovered and you're trying to build back up. So what I'm going to show you here now is another type of bands. These small resistance bands, super helpful. If you don't own these, you need to get them. They are a must for you to have, especially when performing drills that will help with strengthening the muscles responsible for what's causing that pain within your elbow. So like I said, although it might be the elbow, tennis elbow, or golfer's elbow, in this case, a lot of these exercises do focus more on golfer's elbow, which would be known as medial epicondylitis or condylia. That's what it would be known as scientifically. So like I said, you need to understand the anatomy. It's always very important that you go and check with your health provider or whatever relevant professional, whether it be a physical therapist, chiropractor, more so physical therapist, and they'll be able to give you exactly what you're dealing with. This is just for helpful things that you can add into your arsenal if you were ready to talk to a qualified professional in that realm. So as you see here, I want you to pay attention to me rotating my hand from supinated, pronated, and neutral. Those 3 hand movements, I'm doing the same amount of repetitions, but making sure I'm switching it up as I'm going through. So as you see with the eccentric phase, take your time, and also the concentric phase, of course, depending on the level and the degree of the injury and its recovery. I'm going to keep stressing that because it's very important. So as you see here, the first one I did was bilateral. Now I'm performing unilateral of the same exercise, keeping the opposite arm nice and stationary, chest level. You don't want to drop the hands too low. You want to keep them nice and controlled and maintain that same height throughout the entire exercise. So this is I don't really have a specific name for any of them. I don't know if ones exist, but these are, like I said, helpful for those designated areas that are responsible for the pain you might be experiencing due to golfer's elbow, tennis elbow. The compensations really are a common thing, especially when you're doing repetitive loaded movements, whether it be weighted calisthenics or if you're doing body weight and your muscles, those surrounding muscles just aren't ready and capable to sustain that load. So just real quick, the tendon as we know, is mainly made out of collagen. And just like the muscles, when they break down, you need to ensure that you're giving them proper nutrients and time to recover. If the rate of degradation surpasses that of the rebuilding, then obviously you're going to be dealing with the problem. And if you keep trying to work through that, when it's broken down, you're going to have a major problem that can be irreversible if it gets to that point. So for this next exercise here, you're going to see that I'm on an elevated surface, and the reason why it's not more beneficial, but just recommended to do it on an elevated surface. You just want to concentrate on performing this specific movement at hand and not putting too much additional load on that joint, that tendon that is currently under a lot of stress and tension. But given if you're already, like I said, you're in recovery mode, it's been a couple months since you've kind of experienced that initial injury, you can do it on the floor. That's completely fine. So as you see, the hands are keeping nice and close to the body, and every repetition I'm performing, I'm controlling it. I'm not rushing through it. That's not the purpose, to rush through and go as fast as possible. It's taking your time on each repetition. So very quickly, the difference. So you might hear of tendonitis and tendinopathy. What is the difference? Yes, the names sometimes are interchangeable, but they do have, a distinct difference. So tendonitis is really the inflammation of the tendon, and tendinopathy is more so of the degeneration of the collagen protein that the tendon is made of. So understanding, of course, the difference between the two, as far as like a nutritional approach, when, okay, I need to make sure I'm eating X, Y, Z, that's equally as important as the actual exercise being performed. As we know, dealing with inflammation, it can be also it can be supplemented further as far as helping it out by making sure you're eating the appropriate stuff, the appropriate things are in your diet, and it's building those muscles, protein, collagen, things like that. And also, if you're on the opposite side, if you're not giving it the appropriate nutrients and inflammation continues, then you're going to be feeling that pain. And why are you feeling that pain? So, of course, like dealing with the general principles of inflammation and injury, edema, and that extra pressure and tension is pushing on the nerves, and then you just have more and more problems taking place. So you just want to be mindful of exactly which, is it tendonitis, is it tendinopathy, understanding, the more you know, the better approach you'll be able to take. So what you just saw there, I did before, was overhead tricep extensions. There's another one, so if you don't have like a bar or something like that to wrap it around, you can use your hand as a substitute. Keep it stationary right there up against your chest, and then slowly, as you see, extend and relax. Eccentric, concentric, nice and slow movements every rep. So like I said, it's wonderful when you have these resistance bands. If you don't have a gym right now, this is during this whole shelter in place coronavirus thing, quarantine, all that. So there is no gym that you have access to unless you have your own private gym or you live in a building where that's provided for you. But you can always use bands. You can stay right in your home and perform these exercises right here. So as you see, nice and controlled. Not every exercise will be what's the word I'm looking for? Will be appropriate for you. It always depends on exactly the nature of the injury, the level that you are at in your recovery, and in general, like, what is your fitness level? Are you an athlete? Are you someone who's just an average Joe and you ended up getting this injury from overuse? Those things do matter. So as you see here, this is just a like a side tap using the resistance band. And I want to mention as well, all the bands that I'm using are really light bands. I'm not going heavy. Of course, there is a time for that when you need to adjust, but start light. It's better to start light than to have too much and then you end up injuring it more. That's the last thing you want to do. And if at any point during these drills that you're feeling uneasy, then you want to take your time, step back, take rest, and then analyze, okay, am I overworking myself? Is the injury actually is it becoming worse? what's going on. So you got to keep those stuff in mind, being very aware of how you feel, being mindful. Okay, I need to pay attention to the pain limit of my joint here. So this exercise right here I got from Rehab Science on Instagram. Very, very, very informative page. Like the knowledge that you get from there is incredible. So if I would definitely recommend that everybody go and check that out. He breaks down exactly what this movement does, the purpose of it, and even me doing this right here, you know, I'm feeling everything stretching and pulling. I forgot what the medial is. It's a medial something stretch. If I find the post, I'm gonna put it right here over the screen, and you can check it out. But I will, like you said, do a future video breaking down more of the science about it, just a sit down brain games video discussing that and referencing the other professionals in this area, the real professionals, I should say, the ones who study this really and have the deep understanding and knowledge in this subject about all these things: tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, which I have dealt with both in the past, and I have fully recovered from them. Fortunately, I'm very happy to be able to say that, because you know it's not a great thing to have to deal with for a long period of time. I wasn't able to work out for a while. I thought it was I thought it was like, I just need to work the elbow, but apparently I did have like an overuse issue dealing with trying to you know, I was working too much forearms, especially in doing calisthenics, and not balancing out by having a progressive approach. So this right here is, you know, like wrist twist, wrist curls, however you want to say it. Using the band, as you see, I'm using this almost as a what do I want to call it? It's almost like, you know, a belt in an engine where it wraps around and it pulls. So you do that, and I'm gripping with the other opposite hand that's not twisting. I'm gripping that and pulling it out. So I give myself more resistance the further I move that hand away from the other hand. The wider my hands come apart, the more resistance I'll be introducing. So this is a wonderful exercise for working, you know, those muscles in the forearms, working up into the elbow. Wonderful exercise. Even if you don't have tendonitis, these are wonderful exercises to add into your arsenal. Of course, as preventative measures, that's definitely something you want to do. So give these exercises a go. I'm wrapping up here now. If you have any questions, once again, you can leave them in the comment section. Health is wealth. Get money. And remember, it's always a warm-up.